Awesome. Hello, guys. My name is Jeff Andrews. I am a social worker. I work in an organization called Christian Action Center for Refugees, but I'm also a local-born Hong Konger, and I would be talking about just the challenges of ethnic diversity in Hong Kong. Hong Kong being one of the world's most renowned international cities, I still think has a lot to do for ethnic minorities in Hong Kong. So, also, to be honest with you, as I kind of go through a little bit of my journey, telling you the different struggles with the policies and just daily life, I'm hoping also to send some positive energy, positive vibes out there so that um, we can still continue to have hope and make change. So just to give you a little background of myself, I'm actually a third generation Hong Konger. This is my family. We came in 1963. My grandpa came in 1963 working in a hotel called Farama Hotel. At that time, Hong Kong was a British colony. A lot of the South Asian folks would come down to do different jobs, specialized jobs. So you'll have Indians, Pakistanis, Nepalese, Filipinos doing different kinds of jobs. And of course, ethnic minorities have been in Hong Kong for over 100 years. I mean, serving in the British Armed Forces, defending Hong Kong, and then of course some of them ended up running businesses and all sorts. So just to give you an idea of the kind of education that ethnic minorities had to go through during my time was, I would call, segregated schools. So this is just one of the photos. I'll start with my primary school, which was really unique. It was a local government school, and when I went to school, it was morning section all local Chinese, and at 12:30 it was time to shift, and then at 1 o'clock all the ethnic minorities would go into school. One of the issues there I saw was that minorities would see society as two different worlds. One is local Chinese and ethnic minorities on one side, and then you got people like us who were only taught two languages. One was English, and then the second you were given a choice of Cantonese, Urdu, or Hindi. Now, being from the ethnic minority community, of course, you wanted to pass all your exams, so you would go to languages that were your mother tongue. Now, for the Filipinos and maybe sometimes Nepalese or whoever, they would go for Cantonese. So I had basic Cantonese lessons until primary six, and then now you're looking at a photo which was my secondary school. This time it was not segregation in different floors, but segregation in different morning and afternoon. But this time it was different floors. So you're looking at my secondary school, and the upper floors were all the local Chinese, and then the lower floors were all the ethnic minorities. And it was so unique again because there was no interactions, there was no integration. And again, we were taught two languages. One was English, and then the second one was French, which again just complicated a lot of ethnic minorities identity of Hong Konger, being a Hong Konger. So I learned French for 5 years. I failed it. A very, very difficult language. And also, again, what was the use of French in Hong Kong if you were going to live, work, and of course settle in Hong Kong? So it was a really complex time. All my schoolmates were all Cantonese, all ethnic minorities, very, very diverse group there. But again, many of us could not read or write Cantonese. Some of us spoke Cantonese because of our daily interactions, but we were talking about broken Cantonese. So you look at many of my minority friends at a young age. We looked at Form 6 and Form 7, there was no ethnic minorities going past the HKCEs. Just now, we had two local Chinese friends who were talking about the examination system, the DSCs and the HKCEs. But we had an extra struggle because we couldn't progress because you needed two language passes. So what happens in Form 3 is that some of us go through, some of us don't. And what do the guys who don't? They end up going into construction, security, following their parents' businesses, or worse off, crime. So if you look at this photo here, many of my good friends unfortunately walked a path of crime because I would tell many of my school friends or many of the schools today that back in the day it wasn't a government official or college officials coming in or university officials coming in to tell you different options, plan B's and C's. It was gang members ready to recruit young people without any requirements, whereas if you wanted to go into higher education or another pathway, there were so many requirements altogether. So you could just see this was the environment that we were sucked in. In this photo you'll see a few of my friends have actually passed away on drug overdose, and some of them are still in a life of crime, which is, again, I don't blame them for it. Unfortunately for myself, I also finished Form 5 and I also walked a life of crime, and I ended up in a really bad place. But for me, I was so lucky. I had a social worker that came and saved my life, and took me out of that arrest. And at that time when I was arrested, I'll never forget, the lawyers told me that as ethnic minorities, once you get arrested on your first offense, it's very hard to come out of it. You either have a criminal record or you're going to face some jail time. So I looked at that system as well, the crime system, and when many minorities go into it, um, it's punitive. There's no rehabilitation. There's no second chances. And what happens when you fail the academic system? You either have to do two things: go into quick employment, or you end up in a welfare dependent system. Very lucky, Fermi Wong really fought many of the policies that hindered ethnic minority progress. So this was one photo that I'm very proud of. Is Institute of Vocational Education, IVY, or which is now VTC. At that time, about in 2004 to 5, they did not recruit ethnic minorities because we couldn't pass the language, the Chinese language. But again, Fermi Wong and Unison, which is an organization that he started, fought the system, and actually kind of pleaded with the school, can we buy a separate class and we'll pay the teachers to just run one course just for ethnic minorities. And I'm very fortunate, 2004-5, we fundraised 2 million plus to have the first class for hospitality course for ethnic minorities. Today, I'm very proud to tell you, VTC and IVY do not have separate classes or special classes. It's all, many ethnic minorities, I believe a few hundred are now into different programs into this. So again, it just shows you education policies. Once you are blocked, obstacles are there, it's very hard to progress. So another thing is football, sports. Even not every ethnic minority wants to go into the academic field, right? We're also very talented in sports, arts, music, and sorts. But again, it's always harder for minorities to get into the mainstream platform. So football, for example, I was actually a very good football player. I love football so much, but I even struggled to get into local football program schemes. So I'll give you an example. If you look at this photo in 1997, I remember there was the McDonald football scheme for all of Hong Kong kids and youth. And I would run to the Football Association, I'll ask for a form, and they would give me the form only in Cantonese. They would not have an English form. So people like us who couldn't read, what do we do? I was so desperate to play, I would go down to my local security guard and ask him to fill up the form with me, and then I'll fill up. So you can see in 97, this is the Kowloon City football program. I actually played 2 years for the Kowloon City district team. And I looked around, there was hardly any other ethnic minorities. So we kept pushing the Football Association to provide forms in Cantonese. So just to show you again how difficult it is to progress and have a diverse football program for minorities as well. So just some things that I've been fighting for as well. I work for, I'm sorry, I'm moving very quickly, but I work for an organization called Christian Action Center for Refugees, where I work in a place called Chungking Mansions, which in itself is a very stigmatized space in Hong Kong. It's usually, when you say Chungking Mansions, the image is South Asians and a place of crime. So I'm very fortunate through my role working in this building as a social worker serving refugees, but also I have different caps on, in a sense. I'm also someone that's Indian, South Asian, but also local. I speak the language. I'm also a social worker, so I've been able to use different roles in my capacity to kind of highlight the beautiful diversity of this building, but also highlight the cause of refugees and ethnic minorities. So I'm very fortunate through my role. I've been interviewed so many times by different media. And why do I use media? Because media is a very important tool. It's media that actually can stereotype, label, and create kind of influence in society. So I'm very fortunate through my role. I've been able to change a lot of the perceptions of Chungking Mansions. And of course I use football also to change the lives of refugees, which is very important. Again, giving dialogue, exchange, and understanding in a city like Hong Kong, which is a very complex place. So today, my role as a social worker is it's not easy. Just saying I became a social worker. 10, 15 years ago, ethnic minorities were not allowed to enroll in the social work program because, again, the social workers board made it a requirement that you needed to read and write Cantonese, but many of us couldn't. So again, we had to like fight that system, and I'm very proud Fermi Wong actually got Caritas Institute of Higher Education to be the first one to use or to have ethnic minorities as a test case. So this is the first time in my life at the age of 28, night school, to actually be in a social work program together with local Chinese in a 4-year program, and it was an amazing experience, a challenging experience at times, but it also helped me to really integrate into local society and also find acceptance. I'm very proud, for me to become the first ethnic minority registered social worker in Hong Kong. I'm very proud to tell you today there are 17 of us, and hopefully more, again, breaking through these policies, the challenges of a diverse Hong Kong. But also just wanted to share, my mom passed away actually just 6 months before my graduation, but that's not the story. The story was that, in Hong Kong you need to find a place to bury, and you have to line up. But my mom was Christian, and if you know, there's a beautiful cemetery in Pok Fu Lam which is called a Chinese Christian cemetery. And believe it or not, they actually sent a letter to us saying, sorry, your mom can't be buried here because she's not Chinese. She's Christian, but she's not Chinese. So it even tells you how even in death you can be segregated. But again, I learned a lot from Fermi Wong to use the media in the right way. So we told our story to the media, and I can tell you, within a few days we got a call from the Christian leadership to say that we're really sorry about that. And today my mom is one of the only non-Chinese buried in the Christian cemetery, just to show you again, to fight the policies which kind of helps Hong Kong actually with its image of being an international society, international city. I'm hoping my mom will not be the only one that's non-Chinese in there. This is reality. Hong Kong is a diverse city. So things that we even fought for is coaching, even football coaching. Couldn't be a football player, so again, as ethnic minorities, many of us wanted to be football coaches. So again, to fight that system, I went to the Football Association. Again, they would say, oh, sorry, examination is in Cantonese, which again hinders so many young youth who maybe academically they're not as good and maybe don't want to go into that field. Again, we had to fight, and again use the media and advocacy, different lobbying efforts. This one was really amazing because Santos, a really local football player named Santos, he's really famous. He's also a mixed, he's an ethnic minority, and he heard about our story, and he willingly put himself out there with us onto the media, even though he was actually hired by the HKFA to coach another team. And believe it or not, again, in a few days, the Football Association called us and say we are now changing it and providing it in English as well. So myself and my friends, we enrolled into the football coaching program. Very proud to tell you today there are many young ethnic minorities going into the coaching program. Very important, giving them another avenue to find careers. So again, just to let you know, policies are there to be challenged at times. Why? Because if it's not just, if it's not equal footing, then what's the point? So I'm always very, very, all about being a voice for the voiceless. A very important role in society these days. Yes, even as I was arrested as a youngster, never imagined the police calling me back for training, cultural sensitivity training and talks. Very important. Telling police officers when an African man is loud and gesturous, it's not that they want to attack you. Or when someone has a facial beard, you don't say things like, oh, you look like Bin Laden. So we're training them to be less hostile in their English or in their approach. And I can tell you there's a lot of improvements. There's over now 30 police officers who are ethnic minorities, some on patrol in areas like Yau Chi Mong, which is a very highly concentrated community of ethnic minorities. So it's a lot of improvements there. Doing trainings for senior officers as well, very important. In 2014, I actually went to the United Nations in Geneva to talk about segregated schools and how that's been a hindrance and actually a huge issues for generations of ethnic minorities, and I think because of that, there's so many changes now. There's now no longer kind of segregated schools, in essence. So yeah, been also going into local schools to talk about ethnic minorities and all our contributions to society, how to have better acceptance. But I also go to ethnic minority schools and and also kind of encourage our community to learn Cantonese, to integrate into society, to do better, to contribute to this place we call home. So I think it definitely goes both ways. So just showing you a couple of incredible things that have happened throughout my time, because people say, oh, does discrimination really happen? Isn't Hong Kong a diverse city? Yes, discrimination happens. So I'll give you an example. This was in 2018 when the super typhoon hit Hong Kong, and one of the first viral videos that went out was a couple of African guys that were cleaning the streets in Tsim Sha Tsui, and some of them were actually my clients, and they came back and they were so grateful for the local positivity, and some of them said, can we continue? And I remember just thinking, we don't know how things can pan out. And took a bunch of about 20 ethnic minorities and some refugee clients, and we went to the most local park in To Kwang Wan, and I'll never forget that, actually just nearby here. And as we went in, even before we did anything good, I remember there were some papaws who were sitting there and using the park, and they were like, wow, kam to hak kwai ga li daw, right? Which means like, wow, so many black ghosts here. And I just thought, oh my gosh, you know what, this is a nightmare. But anyway, we 2 hours cleaned up the park so good. And the same papaws who said those words disappeared. And I said, oh my gosh, what happened? Did any one of our guys kind of scare them off? Actually, no. They went off to Park and Shop or wherever it is and came back with 2 big bags of bolo bao and waitalai to give back to our guys. And I thought, this is Hong Kong for you, right? You just got to keep doing the right thing, and eventually you'll change perceptions and create dialogue. So very, very important in doing that. Like I said today, 20 to 30 police officers. We have some, for example, fantastic examples of ethnic minorities contributing to Hong Kong. Bobo, Vivek, and many more, doing a lot of incredible things. Just going to shift very quickly. So what I do now is to create a diversity inclusion tour. In a sense, we in Chongqing, where else better to do it, because people have such negative perceptions of this place. So I never imagined in 2019 hundreds of people actually lined up for our tours outside of Chongqing. Now 10 years ago, nobody wants to even pass by Chongqing Mansion, so this is an incredible change, and we really see a shift in society on better acceptance of ethnic minorities. So our tours, we talk about race, religion, culture, food, traditions, and then of course it's food tasting. Hong Kong people, we love to eat food, so it's a good way to bring about change, but also curiosity and dialogue. So really, these are the things that we really believe now in Hong Kong. It shouldn't just be, oh, come on to a program, come and I'll put up a PowerPoint, you listen, and then you go. No, it's actually getting in there and doing things like human libraries, doing things like trying things out for your own. So really grateful for that. Just wanted to share one final thing before I go off is, people always ask me, oh, where's your Hung Ha? Go back home, or sometimes they say things like that, and I go, actually, my Hung Ha is To Kwang Wan. I'm a guy who lives in To Kwang Wan for over 20 years. This is my home, in fact. But a couple of last year, a friend called me and he said, hey, there's a cemetery in the Hindu temple which have ethnic minority soldiers who defended Hong Kong. And I said, really, what? And I went up and I checked it out with him, and it was in a really bad state. But these were soldiers who fought in the wars, defended Hong Kong. These are Nepalese, Pakistani, Indian soldiers. And so together with some couple of friends, we said we need to do something about this. So we posted up on our social media platforms, and believe it or not, Hong Kong people, even during the pandemic 2 years ago, still came out, and we cleaned up this place so good. We got children, we got expats, ethnic minorities, refugees, whoever you name it. It was about 6 months of hard work, and we had over 200 people at different times come in. But what was so important during this moment was you saw the unity in Hong Kong. People were like so curious about the history, wanting to know who are these people. How come they were here? How come nobody knows about it? So we cleaned it up so well. It was even covered by a lot of mainstream media. But what was so important during this time was that I discovered that there were people buried who are ethnic minorities, even people from my little village or town in Chennai. They were buried here in Hong Kong in 1887. And I think that just shows you how Hong Kong was already an international city way before 97, even after 97. People say, oh, you guys just came down after 97. Actually, it's not true. We've always been a diverse city, but I think that dialogue and that acceptance and that celebration of our diversity has not been there enough. And I think there's so much hope now. I think in the way Hong Kong is, we're in a very crucial time now. But I think ethnic minorities play a very important role in this direction that we're heading. And I'm hoping that today I just kind of trigger some thoughts into you, and just to let you know that we need diversity. Unity in diversity is a very crucial aspect of Hong Kong. Hong Kong is an international city, and ethnic minorities make it international. And I'm hoping eventually in the future we won't have to use these terms like ethnic minorities. We're quite fatigued by it. We're now trying to change it to ethnic diversity. But in the long run, I'm hoping everyone just says one thing: 大家香港人. We are all Hong Kongers. So I just want to thank you for your time, and I'd love to get in touch if there's any more questions you may have. But I'd love to see you in Chongqing for a nice tour or a nice curry.
Do you have anything to say to HKDSE takers?
Yes, absolutely. I think you just saw many of you guys. I know it's a very crucial time, the DSCs. Just want to let you know, you've seen my journey. I failed so badly in my CEs, and I never imagined. I always thought it was a dead end, and actually was wrong. That social worker from Wong told me absolutely not. Today's the start of your actual journey. So I'm telling all of you DSC students, you may feel like it's the end, or you may feel like there's no hope, but guys like me today should not be where I am today. But it's because you have to take on many different journeys along this, and it's going to be a lot of up and down. But one of the things I can tell you, one advice I'll give you is seek help. I know maybe in the ethnic minority community or culture is we don't ask for help, and actually that's the wrong concept to have. If when I was arrested, the first thing I did was seek help. I called this number 923-764-6464, and it was a social worker that saved my life, and therefore I'm here today. So I'm asking you to all, whoever you have around you, ask for help, and that is your network of support. You got Jaldrin here, and I'm sure even people like me would love to give you some guidance. So seek help. It's not the end. Have hope. If a guy like me can be a social worker 15 years on, there's so much more hope today, and there's so much more opportunities now than we had years ago. So again, thank you for your patience in listening.